Welcome, Ramley. How are my Super Bowl champions doing today? Today I'm here to answer the question, can the Rams really repeat as Super Bowl champions? Let's get right into it. So if my lifelong love for football has taught me anything, it's that winning a Super Bowl is extremely difficult. One of, if not the most difficult thing to do in any sport, let alone winning 2 in consecutive seasons. There's been 56 Super Bowls to date, and the Rams have only played in 5, and they only won twice. Is it crazy to think the Rams can now win twice in as many years? Perhaps, but that's not going to stop this Rams fan from thinking it can happen. Now, there have been 14 Super Bowl champions that went on to play in the Super Bowl again the following year. Out of that 14, only 8 teams were successful in repeating as Super Bowl champs. And this feat has not been accomplished in 18 years, since the 2004 Patriots. Saying this is difficult to accomplish is an understatement. I went back and took a look at every single team that won back-to-back Super Bowls, and they all have 2 things in common. In the offseason, after winning their first championship, they kept the core nucleus together, and they simply got better. Whether it was by adding new players or their current players tremendously improving, the team was always better in the second season of a repeat. Let's look at the most recent repeat champions, for example. The 2003 New England Patriots weren't just happy winning 2 out of 3 Super Bowls. Even after much success, the one aspect of this team that was still lacking was a running game. Their leading rusher was Antoine Smith, who led the team with just 642 rushing yards. They ran for 1,607 yards as a team. Despite such a lackluster running game, the Patriots still won a Super Bowl in 2003. But before the 2004 season, the Patriots added running back Corey Dillon, who finished the year with 1,635 rushing yards by himself. The Patriots as a whole would finish the season with a whopping 2,134 yards on the ground. When you also add the fact that Tom Brady was entering his 4th year as a starter, it's easy to see why this team was able to repeat. While the 1997 Broncos were the first to win a Super Bowl in Denver, the 1998 Denver Broncos were one of the best teams in NFL history. They started the season off going 13-0, actually winning 18 straight dating back to the 97 postseason. This team sent 7 offensive players to the Pro Bowl in '98. Considered one of the best offenses of all time, led by John Elway, this team sustained 2 1,000-yard receivers in Ed McCaffrey and Rod Smith, also one of the greatest tight ends in league history in Shannon Sharpe. But what really took this team to new heights was running back Terrell Davis, who improved on his 1997 season by rushing for 2,008 yards in '98. Along with 21 touchdowns and 5.1 yards per carry, Davis averaged 128 rushing yards per game. Davis was the NFL MVP this year as well. This amazing increase in production from Terrell Davis was the main reason why the '98 Broncos were damn near unstoppable. Nothing was getting in their way of repeating. Now, the 1992 and '93 Dallas Cowboys get debated all the time when it comes to which team was better. I lean towards they were a little better in '93 when they won back-to-back Super Bowls. This team finished with a regular season record of 12-4, but 2 of those losses came when league MVP Emmitt Smith was holding out due to contract disputes. Both of those losses came from teams the Cowboys would go on to beat later on in the year. And another loss would have been a surefire win if not for a horrible decision by Leon Lett. This team could have easily finished the regular season 15-1. With the best record in Dallas Cowboys history. The 1988 49ers won a Super Bowl with a regular season record of 10-6. Yet in 1989, the 49ers West Coast offense was at an apex with Joe Montana setting a then record with his 112.4 passer rating. San Francisco lost his only 2 regular season games by a total of 5 points and then blew out his playoff competition by a combined score of 126-26. That's 100 more points than their opposition. I can keep doing this all day, but I think you guys get the picture here. Repeating in the NFL is beyond difficult, but if you want to have a chance, you have to get better. So the $1 million question is, how do the Rams get better? Now that's a loaded question, so let's break it down. The strongest unit on last year's team was by far the defense. Now if you look back at the season-long stats, this might not be true. But in the second half of the year, and especially the playoffs, I don't think there was a better defense in all of football. In the playoffs, this team only gave up an average of 18 points per game, and that average would have been a lot lower if the offense didn't fumble the ball 4 times in Tampa Bay. We also seen this defense hold the Bengals to 61 yards and sack Joe Burrow 6 times in only the second half of the Super Bowl. Now, it's very difficult to improve on a defense that was already that good, especially when you lose cornerback Darius Williams and edge rusher Von Miller. Now, the Rams did replace Williams with Troy Hill from Cleveland, and I truly don't think there's a drop-off in talent here. But the loss of Von Miller will be felt. Von Miller had 6 sacks in the last 6 games of the season. It's hard to replicate that kind of production. I think once Miller decided to take the money and go to Buffalo, the Rams knew there wasn't an edge rusher out there that could actually fill his shoes. So instead of signing a subpar edge rusher to replace Von, they replaced him by upgrading the weakest position on this team. They grabbed one of the best middle linebackers in the league, Bobby Wagner. Now, Wagner might not bring a lot to the table when it comes to rushing the passer, but no team in the league should be able to run the ball effectively against this Rams team. With Aaron Donald, A'Shawn Robinson, Greg Gaines, Ernest Jones, and now Bobby Wagner, opposing offenses will have nightmares trying to game plan for this team. So even though our pass rush could potentially take a step back without Von Miller, our secondary should be just as good as last year's, and our linebacking core could potentially be the best in the NFL. And what else excites me is the promising young talent on this defense getting better. Robert Rochell is entering year 2. David Long Jr. played pretty good towards the end of last season, and he's only 24. I expect him to continue to progress. And after a really good rookie year, Ernest Jones now has the ability to play alongside one of the best linebackers of this generation in Bobby Wagner. It's also going to be great having a defensive coordinator in year 2. I think this defense went through some growing pains last season due to Raheem Morris's scheme. And that's why it took quite a while for this unit to play as good as it ultimately did. Raheem Morris should have a great idea on how he wants to run this defense a lot sooner than he did last year. I truly believe this defense can at least be just as good as they were towards the end of last season. And if young players like Ernest Jones, David Long Jr., Robert Rochell, and Justin Hollins decide to take the next step forward in their career, this defense will be even better. Now, when a unit is already great, it's a little hard to get even better. And while I did like this offense a lot last season, great just isn't a word I would use to describe them. I do think there's a lot of room for improvement here. And if the Rams want to repeat, they have to get better. And they do that by improving on last year's offense. The glaring struggle of the 2021 Los Angeles Rams was a running game. Darrell Henderson was the starting running back to start the year. After he got hurt, we seen a little success with Sony Michel. I was hoping the Rams would give the keys to Sony Michel permanently for the remainder of the year, but as soon as Cam Akers came back, he became running back 1. And he struggled the rest of the year outside of one game against the Cardinals. In order to improve this offense, it's going to have to start with improving the running game. And this could be challenging with the loss of Andrew Whitworth to retirement and guard Austin Corbett to the Carolina Panthers. But I do think Joe Noteboom is ready and he'll be able to replace Whitworth. And Coleman Shelton or rookie Logan Brush are good replacements for Austin Corbett. I think if the O-line can stay healthy, because I do have health concerns for Noteboom, but if this unit can stay healthy, I don't see any drop off in production. And although this offensive line was great in pass protection last year, it did struggle to open up holes for the running backs. The replacement of Austin Corbett could help in that area. Now, the main reason I believe this running game will be more productive this season is because Cam Akers will now be a year and a half removed from his nasty Achilles tear. As we all know, Cam Akers came back from his injury in just 6 short months. The general recovery time for a torn Achilles is 6 to 12 months. Also, Akers has never participated in an NFL offseason. His rookie season was 2020 when there was no OTAs or training camp due to COVID-19. And obviously last year he was hurt. One can use common sense by saying Akers will probably perform a lot better being about 16 months removed from his Achilles injury and having gone through OTAs and an entire training camp. Last year he rehabbed and essentially jumped right into playoff football with no more than a couple practices. He will definitely be ready to go this year. And I expect Henderson to really give it his all since he's in a contract year as well. And I also really like this rookie from Notre Dame, Kyren Williams. Our running game should vastly improve this year. Now let's talk about the passing game. I can hear everybody now. How do you expect this passing game to improve? Stafford threw for 4,800 yards. The passing game improves by simply having a good running game. This offense should no longer be one-dimensional. And of course, the upgrade at receiver. I know Robert Woods is a team favorite, guys, I know. But Allen Robinson is a huge upgrade. And Matthew Stafford gets to spend all offseason building chemistry with Allen Robinson, unlike Odell Beckham, who joined in the middle of last year. Speaking of Odell Beckham, I think even without OBJ, this passing attack is upgraded. But if Odell indeed resigns, this passing game will by far be the best in the league. You know, assuming Beckham can quickly knock off the rust when he returns in the lineup after tearing his ACL. Another thing that will help tremendously with this passing attack is Matthew Stafford being in his second season with the Rams. Second year in this offense. Statistics show that quarterbacks generally improve when being in the same offense in consecutive seasons. The offseason isn't spent trying to learn and understand a new offense, but generally just improving on the offense you already know. So just to quickly recap, our linebackers are probably the biggest upgrade of our team. It went from our weakest unit to one of the best units in the league. We upgraded our receivers, and I truly believe our running game will be leaps and bounds ahead of what it was last season. But the main reason why I believe this Rams team can repeat and win back-to-back Super Bowls is the fact that this front office is never satisfied. They are never satisfied with what they have. If we get 4 or 5 games into the season and there's something on this team that's holding us back, it will be addressed. Or if we get to the trade deadline and there's an opportunity to upgrade at any position at all, believe Les Snead won't hesitate. We won a Super Bowl already, but please believe we are still in a win now situation. Matthew Stafford isn't young. Aaron Donald isn't young. Our window for Super Bowls isn't as big as some of these other teams. Last season, Von Miller was available at the trade deadline, and we didn't necessarily need him, but we knew he would upgrade our pass rush. We didn't hesitate to trade a second and a third round pick away just to get Von Miller for half a season if it meant we had a better chance at winning a Super Bowl. And guess what, guys? We got a second and a third round pick in next year's draft too. Our team is already stacked. But if there's anything we're missing, you better believe that this front office is gonna do everything they can to fix it. And that's the best part of being a Rams fan. Besides being Super Bowl champs and constantly bragging to all my friends, this team is dedicated to doing nothing but win games and win them right now. And that's why we have such a good shot at going back to back. Thank you all for watching, and click right here for more Rams content.